and thank you so much for tuning in. So in today's video I have a month in review, and this is essentially where I talk about usually just or mostly makeup products that I have selected that I don't want to do or don't feel like I should do dedicated videos for, but things that I've used and I just kind of wanted to talk about. And I am combining 3 months into one of these videos once again. In this case, it is actually more so January, February heavy than March, but I have used some of these things in March as well. But in any event, these are just things that I picked out. I have kind of used them quite a bit and have thoughts, reviews that I'd like to give to you. And coming to you, yes, with a bare face and a messy bun. It might be after midnight when I'm filming this. It might be after the end of a work day. But we're just gonna roll with it because I really wanted to film this video, and even though I like putting on makeup because I feel like it gets me in the mood to get stuff done, when it's at the end of the day and I'm already feeling like a little bit tired, that's usually just me exhausting my energy to put on makeup. I've definitely been there, done that, so I didn't want to do that today. So we're doing this barefaced and everything's gonna be fine. So let's go ahead and get into it. And today I'm just gonna be talking makeup with the exception of one skincare item, and only because that's actually tangentially related to one of the makeup products I'm gonna talk about. So I wanna get that out of the way first, and that is the Paula's Choice 2% BHA exfoliant. And I started using this back in December, I wanna say, of last year. I think that's right because I picked this up during Sephora's VIP sale at the end of the year. And the way that I got to trying this out is very interesting. Basically, I'm gonna talk about another product after this one, a complexion product that made my skin look worse than it's ever looked. And not even like in a sense of like breaking me out or anything like that. Like, it just made my skin look really bad in the moment, look very, very textured. And I thought that it was actually my skin just having a bad texture moment. I hadn't been taking like the best care of my skin at the time, so it definitely probably was actually more textured than usual, but like it just looked really, really bad with the particular complexion product I'm going to talk about. So I decided to pick this up, and I actually have used a chemical exfoliant before, but it has actually been years since I've done that. I currently use Differin for my skin, and I've been using that now for I think like 4 years. But back when I very first started using it, and I started using it for my acne, I noticed that my skin was really, really sensitive. So the product that I was using at the time, a lactic acid, just wasn't getting along with the Differin, like even spacing them out every other day. My skin just was not having a good time, so I ditched the lactic acid. And I think that was a fantastic choice because Differin has done more for my skin than any other product. I know that I'm only supposed to be talking about one skincare product here, but I guess in a sense I've talked a little bit about Differin, but I always wanted to reintroduce a chemical exfoliant into my routine, and I just kept putting it off or kind of thinking about it and then forgetting. So this was finally the kick in the pants, I guess, that I needed to actually reincorporate a chemical exfoliant back into my routine. And I'm really glad that I did it because this stuff, now let's talk about it. This stuff is fantastic. So I picked this up like at Sephora. This was in a set where it came with this bottle, which is a 4-ounce bottle, and a 1-ounce bottle, and you got all of that for the same price as a 4-ounce bottle. And this was during the sale, so I did get a percentage off as well. This was my first time trying it and I really liked it, and now I'm just upset that I didn't get the 8-ounce bottle that they had, which is like a special edition size that they did, which I hate when companies do that. It's like, leave the jumbo size product available like year round if it's a product that people like and are going to go through, because I'm probably about, sounds like halfway-ish through this bottle. Honestly, I probably would be close to finish with this already. My sister also sometimes uses this as well, but this is something I probably will go ahead and pick up during this Sephora VIP sale that's about to happen. So yeah, I really like this. I use it every single day. Ideally, again, sometimes I fall off, and I feel like it makes an immediate difference in the texture of my skin. Like once I put it on, my skin feels so much softer. I wake up the next morning, my skin feels softer, even softer than just applying my regular nighttime moisturizer, which I do really like. So this has been really nice. I've actually quite liked this, and it feels very cosmetically elegant too. Like it doesn't have like an offensive smell. It has a nice feel going onto the skin. I don't feel like this even dries my skin out. So this has been really fantastic and definitely something that I am going to keep using. Granted, this is my first foray back into chemical exfoliants, so I'm very much willing to try other things and I'm open to suggestions, but this stuff is really good. And I did have this on my list of one of the ones that I wanted to try because I've only heard good things about it. Okay, so I see that I just spent like 6 minutes talking about the one skincare product. I'm sorry, there will definitely be a timestamp if you just want to like skip past all of that. But let's talk about complexion products now, and let's talk about the foundation that looked so bad on my skin that I genuinely thought I was having a serious textural issue with my skin. And that is the Shiseido Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation. And this is a real shame because so many people like this foundation. I know because they are the ones who convinced me that I really should pick this up. And this shade matches me so perfectly, which is like also just heartbreaking because it's so hard for me to come across like an exact shade match, and this really matches me well. This is the shade 510 Suede, and it's such a good match for me. Like, it's got the right nice golden undertones. It's not too light, it's not too dark, it's just perfect. But the way that it looks on my skin is just horrid. Like, I've never tried a foundation that I feel like created texture on my skin. Emphasized texture, sure, but like created texture on my skin, I don't think so. And I'm going to have some photos that I hope will at least to some degree convey what I'm talking about, but even still, I don't think it's going to convey the full message because I just feel like that kind of thing doesn't come across necessarily in photographs the best way. But this was like one of those foundations where I would put it on and like, you know, we all have texture on our skin, right? That's natural. And I think that, you know, if you're like looking at yourself really close in the mirror in like the most unflattering light possible, you will see some texture that you might not like or agree with. But that's usually an unrealistic position to put yourself in. But no, like this foundation, like I feel like I would be like, you know, like as far away from the mirror as I am from the camera right now. And I feel like I could still see texture on my skin. And again, it wasn't an emphasizing of texture, it really was creating texture on my skin. But it was to the point where, you know, even other foundations that I did and really enjoy, I almost started to second guess them. Like, yeah, I think my skin does look more textured with this product that normally doesn't look very textured, or doesn't make my skin look very textured. So yeah, and you know, this is a luminous foundation as well. And I think one of the things that we don't tend to talk about is the way in which a luminous foundation or a dewy foundation can emphasize texture on your skin as well. I know we talk a lot about, you know, sort of like full coverage matte foundations that can sort of, you know, cling to dry patches on the skin and just emphasize texture in a very unflattering way. But I think that, you know, especially like fuller coverage, luminous or dewy foundations can kind of do something very similar, do, pun not intended, but I feel like they can do something very similar on the skin where they just, it just can like quite literally highlight the texture on your skin, right? Because it's dewy, you know? When light hits your face, when you're wearing a luminous foundation, you're gonna be able to kind of see that texture more, if that makes sense. And again, that's not a deal breaker, I think, for foundations, especially if it just still ends up looking really good on the skin or makes your skin look really nice overall. But like I said, this one, just, it was not the case. So yeah, this is a bad one. And I tried so many things to try to get this to work, but it's like every time I sat down to use this, it was bad. And the reason why I really like finally it came to me that like it was the foundation and it wasn't my skin is I had been using the Paula's Choice product. It was making my skin probably the least textured it's been since I was a little baby, you know? And yet still, this foundation looked bad on me. So I was like, yeah, it was not my skin. It was never my skin. It was always just this foundation in particular. I've tried to mix it in with other things and I feel like that hasn't worked. The only thing that I really feel like I haven't tried is mixing this in with maybe a super matte foundation that I have to maybe take away some of the luminosity that this has to then maybe hopefully help some of the texture emphasizing problems that it has. But again, I don't even think necessarily it's related to this being a super dewy product. I think it's just whatever the formula of this product is, it just does not agree with my skin. And if I mixed it with a matte foundation, I feel like all I would be doing is like taking a great matte formula foundation that I have and making it less, you know, making it inferior by mixing it in with this product. So I don't know if I'll even try that. I have sat down with this foundation so many times and I dread it each time, and I feel that I'm correct to dread it each time because it just looks bad. So unfortunately, this was a complete miss for me. So now let's talk about a couple of complexion products I actually did really enjoy. And the first product I actually have 2 shades of, and it is the AURIC Glowlust. And I was so excited to get my hands on these because I feel like I only saw good reviews of this product. And then on top of that, the people that I saw who picked it up, who talked about it initially, also featured it in their end of year favorites videos. Like everyone. So I was like, okay, like this is a product that has really like stood the test of time for a lot of people. So the 2 shades that I have here are Citrine and Goldstone, and Citrine is the lighter of the 2 shades, and this is one that so far I have used as a primer. I have not tried mixing this in with my foundation, which I know is something that the brand recommends that you can do with this product as well, but it has worked so nicely for me as a primer, and honestly, it doesn't even look as light as I thought it would. Certainly I do think that if you're my complexion or darker, Goldstone is definitely going to be your better bet for a all-over complexion match, but Citrine really wasn't that bad or wasn't that far off from Goldstone. So if you're like a little bit lighter than me, then I think Citrine would be a really nice match. But this, I don't know how to even begin to describe how this stuff looks on the skin. But let me tell you about Goldstone first. This one, like I said, is my kind of like exact complexion match. I use this all over. Basically, I use it in lieu of foundation. But the way that this product ends up looking on your skin, first of all, when you first pump these out and swatch them, they look a little bit scary to me personally, because I'm like, ooh, those look like they're gonna be like kind of, it looks like it's gonna be a really thick, heavy product. It looks like these 2 shades in particular, I feel like they look a lot lighter than I was expecting them to look, but they end up shearing out so nicely and blending in with my skin so nicely. And the sort of like brightness that these seem to have is more so, I think, due to the fact that this is a product that has a sort of pearlescence to it, not shimmer particles throughout that you can detect on the skin, but just an overall glow to it. My skin, I don't think has ever looked as good with a complexion product as it has looked with this. So that, I know that that's like really high praise, and I still really like other complexion products, but like this looks so good on the skin. And I'm really glad that I have Citrine as well, because I can use this in conjunction with other foundations that I still really love and kind of still get some of the benefits of this product. But yeah, like this stuff is legit. The one thing that I will say is that if you are somebody who has oily combination skin, I don't have oily combination skin, I have more so normal skin, but I used to be oily combination. I would definitely recommend doing the things that you would do to set or prepare to wear a very dewy product, because the dew on this comes through in full effect very quickly. I would say like within 15 minutes of wearing this, because a lot of times when I test out a complexion product, I like to just try it out without putting on any kind of like primer or powder, just to see how it wears before it starts to look a little bit ridiculous. And this is definitely like the shortest amount of time. Like this has definitely set a world record for me in terms of how quickly my face went from amazing to oil slick. So beware of that. But when I did use my normal methods, you know, either going in with a mattifying primer or powdering them or a combination of the two, these held up really nicely on the skin. So I would say don't necessarily shy away from this if you are oily combination, but just know that, you know, you'll probably want to employ the usual methods that you do when wearing a dewier or more luminous product. So the next complexion product that I wanted to talk about is the Salt New York Sneaky Balm Hydrating Skin Tint. A lot of words, but a really good foundation. This is a foundation that comes in a pan like so. I have mine in the shade N04. This is the perfect shade for me. And this is one that I picked up kind of on a whim because the brand was having a sale. That's actually why I got the AURIC Glowlusts as early as I did as well, because I already was planning to pick them up at some point in 2022, but I didn't think it was going to be this early. But they had that 15% off sale in January, and I was like, oh, I got a bite. So I also picked this up and some other Salt New York products that I'll mention later on in January as well, because they were, and they might still be having this sale actually. They had a sale where if you bought, I believe it was any 2 of their tint products, so any of these products that come in a pan, not just this skin tint, but also their lip and cheek tints, I don't know what the highlighting ones are called, but just any of those products, you could buy 2 and get 1 free, or you could buy 3 and get 2 free. So I did the buy 3 get 2 free, and one of the 5 that I picked up was this, and I really like this product. I don't know if you can tell, but there's already quite a dip going in here, and I think that that's maybe one of the drawbacks of this product. There is a pretty low cost to entry. This is $16, which is not bad, but I do think that if this is a product you're going to be using every day, you could see yourself going through it pretty quickly. It might also have something to do with the way that I apply it. I do believe the brand owner suggests applying this product with your fingers, but personally, I find that I most enjoy applying this product with a brush. I have not tried this with a sponge, so I'll have to try that and see, but I suspect that a brush will still remain my favorite way to apply this product. This has a lot more coverage than I thought it would. I think that that's one of the reasons why I really like this product, because I thought like, okay, it's gonna be something like very sheer, and like in that case, I think it would have been even less worth it, because you know, you would maybe certainly fly through it, like in terms of feeling like you need to kind of like build up coverage to see anything. But no, like especially if you're applying like I do, like I said, with a brush, and I do use a pretty dense foundation brush, you will get very good coverage with this product, and it just looks so good on the skin. And I'm really glad that I like this, because I actually got the AURIC Glowlust before I got this, and I kind of felt bad because I was like, dang, like I might not like this product as much. And I think that, you know, AURIC Glowlust, it's in its own little category doing its own little thing, but this is a fantastic foundation product, like to the point now where I want to seek out like other foundations that come in this format. I think this is a fantastic format for a foundation, and it's so easy to apply because it's just like you sit down, you take your brush, you know, I swirl it in there and I apply it, and it feels like I'm done applying my makeup really quickly compared to using like a liquid or cream foundation. So, you know, a cream that comes in a bottle. So I love this stuff. I think it's amazing. I do believe that the brand owner is expanding the shade range as well to add additional shades and undertones. So that's fantastic. We love to see it. But yeah, this shade and this product, fan-freaking-tastic. Like Glowlust, if you're oilier, I would suggest doing the things you need to do to get a dewy product to work. This did not go as glowy as quickly as Glowlust. This, when I first tested it out, I also went without putting on any primer or powder, and I feel like this held up probably for a good like solid 2 hours before it started to look a little bit like wild, you know. So this is still a product that I would personally go in and set with a powder, but again, once I do that, my face looks good for the rest of the day. Okay, so speaking of Salt New York, let me go ahead and talk about the 4 other products I picked up during their January sale, and these are the products. So these are 4 of their lip and cheek cream tints, and I have the shades Tangerine, Cocoa, Lilac, and Wine. Tangerine and Lilac were both, I believe, from a spring collection that they did in the past. They brought it back more recently. And then Cocoa was from their fall collection from last year. I do think that these shades here, they are limited edition. So these 2 I think are already sold out. I'm not sure about this one. This one was in stock the last time I checked, but that was a while ago. But they brought these 2 back, so they might bring them all back again. And then this shade here, Wine, is a permanent shade that they sell. So, and this component that I have them in, by the way, is not from the brand. The brand does sell their own palettes that you can pop these into that are really nice. They have like a little zip closure and everything. They look very travel friendly. But this is actually just like an old ABH cream contour palette that I have repurposed. I don't even think they sell these anymore, but just in case you happen to have one lying around, just know that these Salt New York pans fit perfectly. So the only shade here that I haven't used is Lilac, which is a shame because this is like, I feel like I definitely am gonna use it soon because I feel like it's a good blush for this time of year. And I do love a purple blush, like even any time of year, but like especially this time of year. So I'll definitely be using it soon. I have swatched it, it looks very pretty, but I've used the other 3 shades and I like this formula quite a bit. It is a more emollient formula and it's dewy, so it looks dewy on the skin and it doesn't set So if you don't like a cream blush formula like that, if you like a cream blush formula that sets down, a cream blush formula that is more of like a cream to powder situation, then I don't necessarily think that you'll enjoy these. But if you don't mind a blush formula that is a little bit more emollient, then I think you could get along with these. I would say the closest thing that I could compare these to are the Ritual Defy Nectar Balm pigments, with the exception that these are a little bit, I think, smoother to the touch initially than the Nectar Balms from Ritual Defy, because those, I feel like they can start to feel a little bit dry, like once you haven't used them, and you kind of have to warm them up with your finger. And then when you warm them up with your finger, they're fine. But like these already kind of just have that kind of slip to them, even when I haven't used them in a little bit. So I do really like these shades a lot. Tangerine shows up on my skin beautifully. Like the name suggests, these are like tints, so they're not like fully pigmented. There's like a sheerness to them, but I think that that also makes them kind of like more like wearable, like if you wanted to wear a more colorful blush. And they still show up on my complexion, which I enjoy. The lightest shade that I have here is, of course, Cocoa. This is the one I was like on the fence about whether it would show up on me or not, but this does indeed show up on my complexion. It definitely is more of like a natural blush. So like these other three colors are a little bit more like vibrant and poppy, but this shade in particular is very natural on my complexion. So I like that. I like having kind of like a cream blush that's like a very natural color that I can use on a day-to-day basis. I've also mixed these two together, Cocoa and Wine. Beautiful combination. So these mix well together. They look nice on the skin. You know, again, it's a more dewy emollient formula, so if you're just not a fan of that, I don't think you would necessarily enjoy these. I tend to not be like a face toucher, and honestly, like I haven't worn these with a mask or anything, but I don't think I would wear. I haven't really been somebody who wears blush with masks, but if I was going to wear a blush, I would probably just opt for a powder blush, or at the very least a cream blush with a more powdery finish. I wouldn't go for something like this. So I would say that these are probably not great to wear with a mask. And I'm not like a face toucher, so I think usually a blush will hold up pretty well on me. I don't tend to have issues where blushes fade on me. So I think that these hold up pretty well for them to be what they are, which is a dewier, more emollient cream blush formula. So let's continue on with the blushes. One blush product I want to talk about is the NARS Basic Instinct Quad, and mine is the Basic Instinct 2. So they came out with this in two shades. I was so happy to see NARS start doing this again, the thing where they will do two blush palettes instead of just one. So Basic Instinct 1 had lighter tones, this one has richer tones, and when I saw this, I knew that I wanted it. You have four what I would consider to be pretty iconic shades for the most part, so I was sold on this without even having tried it. But you have four shades in here. Obviously it's a quad. You have the shades Torrid, Savage, Exhibit A, and Taj Mahal, and I had especially been wanting to try Taj Mahal. I'd already tried Exhibit A, loved it. I thought Savage was always a beautiful color, so I'm happy to have this. And then Torrid is also quite nice as well. Like I feel like Torrid is like what I was expecting NARS Orgasm to be, because it's like a nice pink shade with like a golden sheen to it, but I have like a deluxe sample of NARS Orgasm, and that just looks like a chalky pink blush with gold specks of glitter sitting on top of it. Like it might not be a shade that works for me naturally, but at the same time I feel like I look at that blush and I'm like, this just seems like not a good formula, like even for just anybody, you know what I mean? So in any event, these blushes are all so beautiful. Like I love these. I love Savage. I'm so glad to have Savage in my collection. It is like the most beautiful bronzy blush moment, kind of like a brownish blush moment, and I love those. And then, you know, Exhibit A Classic Red. I was definitely most excited though for Taj Mahal, because Taj Mahal is a color that I've wanted for a super long time, and I just never got my hands on, just never got around to getting it. And I had built it up in my head as well, and over the years I had even purchased shades that I thought would be similar to Taj Mahal, and funnily enough it didn't live up to my expectations, because this ends up looking a lot more gold on me. It looks more like a highlighter than I would have expected it to, so I think that's where the disappointment sets in. But that being said, it's still a beautiful shade. It's just that it's not what I was expecting it to do, and I have other blushes that I enjoy that I think do what I thought this would do, if that makes sense. But overall, I still really love this quad. I don't know if this is available anymore. I know NARS doesn't keep permanent face or eye palettes, which is super annoying, because I feel like this would be a great one to just have as like a permanent one, since it already has like four shades that they already always carry. But Super nice quad, love this. And I really hope that NARS continues to make multiple blush palettes when they do come out with them. So I have one other blush I want to talk about, and that's the MAC Extra Dimension blush in the shade Faux. And I feel like this shade is actually somewhat similar to Savage. It's just Savage's sort of pinker cousin. Savage is a little bit more bronzy brown, and Faux is more of like a pink brown. I love this, and it's so funny. I'm looking at this and I'm like, I have really used this, and I know that I've had this since like, I want to say December. Yeah, I've had this since December, and I mean, it looks used and abused. Like, that's actually kind of wild to me, but what can I say? I love this color, and it's really interesting how I came across these, because I remember when these first launched years ago, because I loved the Extra Dimension and still do love the Extra Dimension Skin Finish formula. That's their highlighter formula. And at the time when these launched, which I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was sometime in like, I think it was like 2015, 2016, when like everybody was into like all matte everything and like beaming highlights. And so the idea of a glowy blush definitely did not appeal to me back then. And I still remember that I ended up buying one of these just based on the strength of the Extra Dimension name. And I ended up getting rid of it because I was like, well, I don't necessarily think that this is a bad product. I just think that it's not for me. This is just not what I'm looking for. And now, today, in 2022, this is what I'm looking for. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And it is in a formula that I love, because I love the Extra Dimension formula. The Extra Dimension Skin Finish formula is hands down my favorite highlighter formula of all time. So to have a similar kind of formula in a blush format, that's like what dreams are made of. So this shade in particular is so beautiful. And let me go ahead, I'll show you what this shade looks like next to Savage, just so you can get a good comparison. I want to show you the two shades on my fingers because they look so like, I don't know, like just delicious. I don't know if that's the right word, but here's Savage and then here's Faux. They actually look a lot more similar on my finger, but I'll go ahead and swatch them on my hand here, if it'll focus. So here's no, this is Savage, sorry. There's that shade kind of blended out. And here is Faux. So yeah, you can definitely see that like Faux is a lot more pink and Savage is a lot more brown, orange, kind of bronzy almost. But I love the way that both of these look, because you would think that they would have like a super high shine to them, or they'd be like obnoxiously shiny, and they're not. They both have like this very like subtle sheen to them, and I think that that's what I like about them both so much. So I would highly recommend either of those blushes, either of those formulas. I think that they're fantastic. And these MAC Extra Dimension blushes, I definitely want more of these. And funnily enough, one of my favorite it's not even technically a blush product, but one of my favorite blush products basically from last year, a blush highlighter hybrid, was a MAC Extra Dimension Skin Finish from the Botanic Panic collection called Royal Flush, which was basically like this deeper mauve purple toned blush highlighter on me. And it was, I think, trying that product where I was like, oh, I really should try to pick up some more of try picking up the Extra Dimension blushes again. And I'm so glad I did that. Moving on to more cheek stuff, I want to quickly mention the Danessa Myricks Balm Contour. And the two shades that I have are Deep 1, which is here, and Deep 2 here. And I don't know what in the world happened in this one. I have no answers. I just opened it and it was like this, and I'm just like, I don't know what catastrophe happened, but we're just gonna roll with it. I purchased Deep 1 first, but I felt like it was like a little bit too natural, and so I also then went ahead and purchased Deep 2. I like both of these, and I do really like Deep 1, and you can probably tell maybe Deep 1 has a little bit more use on it. Granted, this is the one I bought first, but still I feel like this is the one that, you know, when I do reach for it, I tend to probably use a little bit more because it's more natural, and I don't mind this being more natural. Deep 2 I have to use less of because it's a little bit more of a stark coloring. I will say that like I think these are still a little bit warmer than I would like personally for a contour, but they still work nicely as contours. They're definitely not like super warm tone shades that you would think would be better off as bronzers, so I quite like them. And Balm is definitely a good description for these formulas because they have a sort of more like sheer quality to them, which I think makes them a little bit more approachable. One product that I'm trying out right now, but I don't have my full thoughts on it, is the Say bronzer. That one is more like recent to my collection, and obviously, like, you know, these are contours, that's technically a bronzer, but the Say bronzer honestly is so like rich that it kind of like works a little bit as both, I guess. But that one is like sheer in like a weird way, where it's like, I don't know. I have to really gather my thoughts on that. There's just like not a lot of substance there, and I think it's because of probably all the oils they use in that product, since it's like a clean beauty product. It feels weird. It feels like there's not as much pigment there as there should be. So these are balm or balmy in their formula, but there's still definitely pigment. And I'll swatch both shades just to give you an idea of what the difference between the two are, in case you were curious and were maybe torn between the two shades. So here is Deep 1. So, and you can kind of see, like, when I first swatched it, it looked really pigmented, and then as I blended, it sheared out, but you can still see the color, you know, like the pigment's definitely still there. And then here is Deep 2. I'm so sorry, my swatching is horrible today. Yeah, so like this one, as you can see, the top one, it kind of almost like, as I blend it out, it can blend into my skin color, honestly. And my hand is actually lighter than my face, so it probably looks more pigmented here. So that's why I decided to go for Deep 2 as well. And Deep 2, I feel like also looks, I don't know if it's like in theory or just in general how it looks, but Deep 2 also looks a little bit cooler on my hand as well. But I think that they're both kind of like more neutral in tone, to be honest, as opposed to like extremely cool. But that being said, I do like this product a lot. It's been very easy to use. And if you're somebody who's been afraid of using something like a contour, I think that this formula is really approachable. I was going to talk about some brow stuff, but I feel like I've been talking for a really long time, so I will mention it, but like I'm not really thoroughly going to go into the things, but I'll show you my like 3 top brow products right now. One of them is the Lip Bar's Quick Draw 2-in-1 brow gel and pencil, and this is in the shade Highbrow. So this is like a 2-in-1 product, as the name suggests. On one side you get like a brow tint, and on the other side you get a pencil. I mainly use the pencil. I feel like the brow tint is okay, but I also feel like I just am not generally a huge fan of brow tints, and I haven't really given it a fair shot, so keep that in mind. But this is the brow pencil. This has more of like a triangular, it is a triangular shape, yeah, it's exactly that. Kind of like the ABH brow definer, and I really liked that product, but again, I don't buy from ABH anymore, so this has basically replaced that for me. And this is also a little bit smaller and finer than the brow definer, so if you didn't like the brow definer because you thought it was like too thick, then you still might like this one. Don't necessarily shy away from this because, you know, I'm telling you that it's a triangular tip. The next one that I have here is the Mented brow pencil, and ooh, this is one of the ones that's done for, but basically these are like ABH brow wizzes essentially. I have the shade Brow Relator. I also use the shade Brow Down. Both of them work really, really well for me. They're just nice sort of darker brown brow pencils. And Mented sometimes will do sales where these are like buy one get one free, and so I actually used a recent buy one get one free sale they did to stock up on a few of these. And lastly, NYX Brow Glue. So a lot of people have talked about this and said like it's a really great clear brow gel. I've been looking for a really good clear brow gel, and I have to agree, this stuff is pretty good. The only thing is I wish it didn't come in like a clear container because I feel like it looks a little bit grody, and it actually smells like glue. Like I'm like, is this actually just like, yeah, it smells like Elmer's glue, which is weird because I don't think any other brow gel I've ever used smells that way. It's not like super strong. Like I don't think you'll actually even notice it unless you sniff it, which just don't be a weirdo like me and sniff your brow gels and you'll be fine. But it's got a nice size brush as well. It's like, I tend to prefer these like smaller brushes. So I quite like it. I don't need brow gels for hold necessarily, but I do like using them to kind of get my brows into the place that I want them to be in, because I feel like just a spoolie doesn't necessarily do that, but brow gel, like a good brow gel, will do that for me. So this has definitely been working. I feel like I put quite a dent in it already, although it might just not have a lot of product. So it'll be interesting to see how often I have to repurchase this, but this is something I've been enjoying. now to quickly talk about something I haven't been enjoying. This is the NARS, I'm not even holding it the right way, the NARS Climax mascara. I've been using this for so long. This will be on its way out soon. I hate this stuff. I bought this, okay, hate is a strong word, but I really, really, really don't like it. And where do I begin? The brush is like one of those stiffer brushes. It doesn't deposit product very nicely. For a mascara called Climax, it is possibly the most anticlimactic mascara I've ever seen. It doesn't really build any kind of drama on the lashes, and sometimes, only sometimes for some reason, it will smudge. So it's just like the worst of all the worst things that you can imagine of a mascara. And even then it's tolerable for me. I won't throw mascara away unless it's doing something like just really bad to my like eyes or like the skin around my eyes or anything like that. You know, if there's like a reaction, but otherwise I tend to just kind of finish out mascaras. But this is the one that I've been using, and I just feel like my lashes and a lot of my looks lately have just been looking kind of like, you know, so it'll be good to like get rid of this and go to using something else. And I did buy this actually on sale, like half off. I believe it was 21 Days of Beauty like last year, and I cracked it open in December. Don't like it. Did not like it whatsoever. And I do think that this is finally on its way out because this is a drier formula. Like it was kind of dry, on the drier side even when I first opened it. I can't read what the symbol on the bottom says. It's like impossibly tiny, but a lot of mascaras are actually like, they have a 6-month shelf life on them as opposed to like 3 months. Some do, but some have 6 months. And I know like the rule is toss them after 3 months, but I'll keep using it until I finish it up. It's usually no longer than 6 months, so I'm fine with that. So yeah, this one will be gone soon, hopefully. Okay, now let me quickly move into lipsticks. I realize I haven't talked about eyeshadows in this video like at all, which pains me because I really love eyeshadows, but also, like I said, I've been talking for a really long time. And January in particular was very single eyeshadow heavy, so I actually want to do a special video where I focus solely on some single eyeshadows that I've been really enjoying, and I think that that'll be fun because I love single eyeshadows, so I want to do more single eyeshadow content in general on my channel. So stay on the lookout for that if you're like missing out on the eyeshadow content. I did recently post a dupe it yourself video where I was playing around with some single eyeshadow, so you can check that out for some eyeshadow related content, and stay tuned for the other eyeshadow related content. But unfortunately today I don't have any eyeshadows to talk about. I just wanted to quickly go through some lipsticks that I have really been enjoying or have enjoyed over the past couple of months. So first off, I wanted to talk about this one here, which is a MAC lipstick in some really cute special packaging. I'm not even sure like exactly what this is from because this was like a freebie. It kind of looks like an offshoot from the Frosted Fireworks collection, which was a holiday collection from a couple years back. That's not what you're here for. This is the shade Sea Sheer, and this is one of their Lustre lipsticks. Like I said, this was a freebie. This was one of those shades that I definitely wouldn't have chosen for myself, but I'm really glad that I got it because I really like this shade. I believe this might have been the first Lustre lipstick I ever tried from MAC as well, because even though I've tried a lot of MAC lipsticks over the years, as you can probably tell, I have shied away from their like more sheer formulas because I've always had this like idea in my head that I think hold, that if a lipstick is going to cost more money, I want it to be more pigmented. Like in my mind, I equate pigment with like costing more. So I don't feel like, or less pigment with costing less, I should say. So I don't think I'll ever, for example, spend like $20 on what is essentially like a sheer gloss. I can't do it. But this shade, like, there's something about it. I think the fact that like if this were kind of more of a traditional formula from MAC, like a matte formula or something, you know, it would be, I think it would still be really nice, but it's like, it's a coral shade and corals can be really tricky to pull off on my complexion. So I like the fact that this one works so well for me. It just like, and it's one of those shades that kind of just like goes with everything. So I've gotten way more use out of this than I thought I would, especially for a lipstick that was just a random freebie. So speaking of some other MAC lipsticks, a couple of other ones that I have enjoyed have been the Powder Kiss Liquid Lip Color formula. I love this formula. This is, I think, my favorite formula of lipstick, maybe tied with the NARS Velvet Lip Glides, but NARS hates me and they've discontinued that formula, so you know, there's that. But here are 4 shades that I've worn this past couple of months. actually in conjunction with one another, kind of doing more of an ombre effect. I'll go ahead and swatch these shades, and I do want to do like a full swatch video for my Powder Kiss liquid lip colors because I have a lot of them, and I think it would be a useful reference video. I probably won't swatch like these limited edition ones, but all the permanent ones in this packaging I will. They're actually like all, you can't see them really, but they're like back here. So yeah, let me go ahead and swatch the shades that I have here. So one combination I did was the shade Mac Smash, which is one of my favorite red lipsticks, I think, of all time. I'll go ahead and talk about the formula as I swatch these. This is an interesting formula. It's got a kind of blurry look to the formula, but it is a liquid product. Some people have said that I think these compare to some like K-beauty lip formulas, but I haven't tried any K-beauty lip products, so I couldn't compare. But it's just like, they kind of give your lips the look of like a liquid lipstick, that kind of like velvety plush look, but they don't feel like a liquid lipstick at all. And I don't think they look like a liquid lipstick either, because it's not a formula that like really dries down, so it doesn't make your lips look or feel dry either. So that shade that I swatched right there was Fashion Sweetie, and then I'll swatch these two limited edition ones here. This one was from their Lunar New Year collection this past year, the Lunar Luck collection, and this is the shade Luck Be a Lotus, which is probably the lightest shade of this formula that I have. Initially, I was a little bit worried because I thought it would be too light, but then I also combined it with this shade here, which is from the Lisa collection called Rhythm and Roses. So those are the shades there. Aren't they so pretty? I love these. I love these so much. And I think this line of lipsticks from MAC, in addition to the formula being one of my favorites, or my favorite, they also have an amazing selection of colors. Like there's like some colors that exist in this line where I'm like, why don't these colors exist in other lines? So yeah, overall I really like these. Like I said, definitely planning to do a swatch video because they have so many colors, and some of them, like, yeah, they're like similar colors, you know, there's like a lot of reds, sort of like deeper vampy tones. So hopefully a video like that would be helpful if you just wanted to pick up you know, a couple of them. Okay, so another lip combo I have features my Propa Beauty lipsticks, a couple of them. I love these lipsticks, and the two that I wore in combination with one another, I'll swatch them to show you, but hopefully I'll have some pictures of these looks that I've done, or these combos that I've done, so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. But I have two shades here, Limitless, which is a beautiful orange tone, and Fighter, which is a brown. I use Fighter quite a bit because I will use Fighter often as a liner for other colors. This formula from Propa Beauty is like a very nice satin lip formula. It's going to feel very comfortable on the lips. It's going to have like a sheen to it. They're not going to wear like as long as a matte lipstick will, but they do look fantastic on the lips and they feel comfortable. And I think that that's like, you know, it's one of the trade-offs that you make when you want to wear a lipstick formula that's a little bit more comfortable. But this is the shade Limitless. Look at that. Like, that is just like fall in a lipstick if I've ever seen it. It's like one of my favorite oranges because I feel like so many orange tones I have, like I like them, but then there always is something about them where I'm like, there's something missing or there's something a little bit off. And I think Propa Beauty, especially being a Black-owned brand where they were like really trying to make a bunch of nice tones for people with deeper skin tones, they really nailed it. And then here is Fighter, and maybe I'll kind of try to like blur the two together so you can kind of get an idea of like what I was trying to go for. I really liked the look because to me it kind of came off as like a 90s lip, but like a warmer, sort of more pumpkin-y take on a 90s lip, because I feel like usually with a 90s lip you would see something that was like a little bit more like either like pink toned or red toned, and this is like just a straight up like orange and brown. So yeah, I loved it. It was a fantastic combo. And the very last thing that I'll talk about in this video is the Sephora Rouge Lacquer, and this is in the shade 26 Riot Girl. This is a product that I will probably also pick up more of during the not 21 Days of Beauty, what am I saying? During the Sephora VIP sale. And this is like a sort of like, it's a little bit of a messy and melty lip product that I think the name of it makes a lot of sense. It's fully pigmented like a lacquer, and it has full shine like a lacquer. So it's like this almost reminds me of a formula that you would see in like a tube, you know, like a lip lacquer, but they've put it into a bullet for whatever reason. I don't necessarily even know that I agree with that, but I do really like the way that these look on the lips. I only have this one. I kind of bought it to try it out, and I was actually kind of trying to replace specifically a formula and a color of a lip product that I really like. It was from L'Oreal. I think they were called the Caress Balms, and it just gave this really nice sort of like flushed like look to the lips. It almost gave the vibe of like a Bobbi Brown crushed lip color, but in a glossier format, if that makes sense. So this is definitely not, it's not a formula dupe, because again, this is a little bit more like extreme. You know, I could try sharing this out. I actually have not done that. But I even though it's not exactly what I was looking for, even in terms of the color, this color ended up looking quite different than what I thought it would look like. It's definitely a lot more brown and a lot more neutral than the shade from L'Oreal that I have, but it's still really pretty. And they had a lot of other colors I was interested in, so I'm definitely wanting to pick up more of these. But now I'm done. I promise I'm finished. I feel like this was very long-winded for not too many products that I talked about, so I'm gonna not hold you and let you go. But thank you for being here. If you found this video enjoyable and or informative, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for like content. But either way, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Oh my God, it's after 2 o'clock. Okay, bye.